I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this online, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I've been with my wife Ashley for about 5 years now. We met in college, had what I thought was a solid relationship, and I was pretty sure she was the one. We decided to get married last month. Everything seemed perfect, until it was. The signs started subtly, little things at first. Ashley started acting a little distant after the engagement, texting more privately, covering her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. She'd brush off my questions with that bitchy attitude of hers. "You're being paranoid, Jake." She'd snap, rolling her eyes. "Stop analyzing everything. I'm just busy with work." She'd get defensive whenever I tried to talk about our future or if I asked her about her plans for the wedding. But it was during the wedding rehearsal dinner that I first noticed something was off. Ashley had told me she was going to stay with her sister that night, just for a relaxing evening. I trusted her, I really did. We had our share of disagreements, but I thought I knew her well enough. That night, I stayed at the hotel with the guys, feeling a bit anxious but trying to shake it off. I figured she was just tired from the day, but I couldn't shake this gnawing feeling that something wasn't right. The next day, I saw her at the rehearsal, acting perfectly normal, smiling, joking around with everyone. I even caught her stealing a glance at her phone a few times when she thought I wasn't looking. Nothing concrete, just little hints that maybe I was overthinking again. I figured I'd wait until after the wedding to really talk to her. I thought maybe she was just stressed, or maybe I was just paranoid. Then came the night after the wedding. We'd gone back to the hotel, exhausted but happy. Hell, I was still riding the high of finally tying the knot. But around 11 p.m., I decided to check the security footage from the hotel lobby and hallways, because I'm not a complete idiot. Something felt off, and I just wanted to make sure everything was fine. I never expected what I saw next. The footage showed Ashley sneaking out of her room, looking around nervously, and then heading down to the lobby. She met up with someone I never thought I'd see her with. It was my best man, Mike. My stomach sank. They didn't just exchange a quick hello. They disappeared together into the shadows of the hallway, then reappeared a few minutes later, her looking more relaxed and him looking like he'd just won the lottery. I could see the way she was laughing, leaning into him, her hand against his chest. That was the moment I realized she'd been lying all along. She told me she was with her sister, that she was just relaxing in her room. But she was out, sneaking around, meeting with Mike, during the night of my wedding rehearsal dinner. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying everything I saw in that footage, trying to make sense of it. The woman I loved, the woman I was supposed to marry, was out cheating on me with my best man. I felt sick, angry, betrayed. I had so many questions, but mostly I just felt crushed. How long had this been going on? Was it just a fling or something more? And what the hell was I supposed to do now? The next morning I woke up still staring at the ceiling, my mind racing 100 miles an hour. I had the evidence in my hands, but I didn't know how to confront her without losing what little sanity I had left. I kept telling myself it was a mistake, maybe a misunderstanding, but the footage didn't lie. Ashley had lied, especially about her whereabouts that night. I knew I couldn't just pretend like nothing had happened. Not anymore. I decided I couldn't wait. I needed to talk to her face to face. I got up, got dressed, and headed straight to her hotel room before she could go anywhere or spin some bullshit story. I knocked, and when she opened the door, I saw that familiar smirk on her face, the one she always used when she was trying to get away with something. She looked surprised but quickly recovered, trying to put on that innocent, bitchy mask. "Jake, what are you doing here? I told you I was with my sister," she said, crossing her arms. But I didn't waste time. I just pulled out my phone and showed her the footage. Her face fell, her eyes widening in shock. For a second, she just stared at the screen, then her expression twisted into anger. "Oh, come on," she snapped. "That's not what it looks like. You're overreacting. You're just jealous because I was talking to Mike. It's not a big deal." I felt a deep burn of rage. "Not a big deal, Ashley. I saw you sneaking out of the hotel late at night to meet with Mike. Don't lie to me now. I can see what's going on." She rolled her eyes, scoffing. "God, Jake, you're so dramatic. That's just some stupid joke, or maybe you're seeing what you want to see. Maybe I was out with a friend. Maybe I was talking to Mike about the wedding. You don't know everything, so don't act like you do." Her voice was sharp, almost dismissive, like she was trying to brush it off like it was nothing, but I wasn't buying it. I could feel the knot tightening in my stomach. That betrayal, that sneaky side of her I'd never seen before, was staring me right in the face. I wanted to explode, to yell, to demand answers, but I kept my voice steady, cold even. "You lied about being with your sister. You lied about where you were, and you're telling me it's nothing, that it's just some stupid joke." She scoffed again, her bitchy attitude flipping on and off like a switch. "You're overthinking everything, Jake. You're just insecure. Maybe I shouldn't have married you, honestly. You're so paranoid. Why don't you just relax?" That's when I realized this wasn't going anywhere. She wasn't going to admit anything. She was going to keep spinning her lies just like she always did. And I knew deep down I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. Not anymore. I felt like my world was crumbling around me. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, was out there actively lying to my face, sneaking around with my best man. I told her I needed some space and I left her there speechless. I stood outside her hotel room, staring at the door, trying to process what I'd just seen and heard. I felt hollow, betrayed, and angry beyond words. How could she do this? How could she lie to me so blatantly? As I walked away that morning, I knew everything had changed. I was done being naive. This wasn't just a fling or some innocent mistake. Ashley had been playing me from the start, and I had to face that reality. I was broken, but I also knew I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Not without consequences. After I left her hotel room, I spent the next few hours trying to gather my thoughts, but honestly, I couldn't think straight. The betrayal hit hard, like a punch to the gut. I kept replaying everything I saw on that footage, thinking about how she'd lied to me for weeks, maybe months. How she'd acted so bitchy, so dismissive, all while sneaking around with Mike of all people. I mean Mike, my best man. The guy I trusted the most besides my own brother. It all felt surreal, like some bad dream I couldn't wake up from. I didn't want to confront her again right then. Instead, I went home, knowing I'd have to face her later, but honestly, I didn't know what I was going to say or do. I just needed a moment to breathe, to stop the world from spinning so fast. When I got home, I poured myself a glass of whiskey, something to numb the ache in my chest. I sat on the couch, staring at the wall, trying to make sense of it all. My mind kept circling around the same questions. How long had this been going on? Was it just a one-time thing, or had they been messing around for months? The thought that she'd been lying to me during every argument, every "I love you" moment, made my stomach turn. I felt stupid, naive, a complete fool for not seeing it sooner. I'd been so confident in our relationship, so sure she was my everything. Turns out I was just another guy she was using to hide her real life. I kept telling myself I had to talk to her again, but part of me didn't want to. I was furious. Not just at her, but at the whole situation. The wedding, the promises, the dreams I'd built around her, shattered in a matter of seconds. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and somehow also deeply hurt. I'd always thought she was smarter than this, that she was better than this. Guess I was wrong. Then, at some point, she called me. I didn't pick up at first, but she kept texting, trying to spin her lies. "Jake, please, I was just talking to Mike, that's all. I swear I didn't do anything. It's not a big deal, honestly." Her words felt hollow, like she was just trying to convince herself as much as me. I could tell she was pissed, maybe panicked. She's always been good at playing the victim, making herself out to be the innocent party, even when she's the one doing the dirt. I finally responded with a simple message. "We need to talk. Now." When she finally showed up at my place later that evening, she tried her usual tricks, acting bitchy, dismissive, throwing her weight around. "You're overreacting, Jake. Honestly, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. You're just insecure. Maybe I should be with someone who trusts me more." That was her go-to. Blame me. Call me insecure. Like I was the problem when she was out playing games behind my back. But I wasn't in the mood for her bullshit. I looked her dead in the eyes and told her flat out, "Ashley, I saw you sneaking out last night. I saw you with Mike. Don't lie anymore. I deserve the truth. If you want this marriage to work, you better start being honest." She rolled her eyes and scoffed, trying to brush it off. "You don't know what you saw, Jake. Maybe someone else was in the hallway. Maybe you're just imagining things because you're insecure." Her voice was high-pitched and bitchy, the way she always got when she was backed into a corner. But I knew better. I knew what I saw, and I wasn't about to let her gaslight me. I felt that deep, painful sense of betrayal settle even further into my chest. How could she be so manipulative, so full of shit? I told her I needed some space, that I wasn't going to keep putting up with her lies. She started crying, acting all innocent, but I could see right through her. This wasn't about crying or guilt. It was about her trying to control the situation to make herself look like the victim. That night, I stayed up thinking about everything. The wedding, the vows, the promises I'd made, all fake now. I couldn't believe I'd almost married someone who could do this to me, someone who would cheat on me with my best man. I kept asking myself, what did I do wrong? Was I not enough? Or was she just a bitch who used me as a backup plan? The anger kept building, but underneath all that there was a deep sadness. I felt lost, humiliated, and more alone than I ever had before. This was just the beginning, I knew. The fallout was coming, and I didn't know if I'd ever be able to trust anyone again. The days that followed were a whirlwind. I didn't sleep much, didn't eat much either. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her sneaking out, her fake smiles, her lies. It felt like my entire world was crumbling, and I was just standing in the debris, trying to hold it all together. I kept replaying the footage over and over, trying to find some way to make sense of it all, but nothing made sense anymore. She had lied so effortlessly, so convincingly, that I started questioning everything I thought I knew about her, about us. I kept asking myself how I could have missed the signs. I mean, I wasn't blind. She'd been bitchy, secretive, texting more than usual, acting distant. But I'd always chalked it up to wedding stress or her being tired. Never once did I think she was out screwing around behind my back with my best friend. I felt like such a damn idiot for trusting her so blindly. One afternoon, I finally decided I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I needed to confront her again, but this time I was ready with a plan. I told her I wanted to talk, and she showed up at my place, acting like she had no idea what was coming. She gave me that bitchy smirk, trying to act innocent, like she'd already spun some story in her head about how she was going to convince me she was the victim. I'd had enough. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Ashley, I know what you did. I saw the footage. I know you cheated on me with Mike. Don't even bother denying it." Her face immediately changed, her eyes flickering with that bitchy disdain she always had. "Oh, please," she sneered. "You're just jealous. You're insecure. Maybe you're the one with the problem, Jake. I didn't do anything. You're imagining things." Like always. She crossed her arms, trying to look dismissive, but I could see the flicker of panic behind her eyes. She was trying to save herself, but she knew she'd been caught. "Save it," I told her coldly. "I don't want to hear your bullshit anymore. You lied. You cheated. Honestly, I don't even know who you are anymore." The anger in my voice felt like a raw wound. I couldn't believe I'd trusted her, loved her, all while she was out with my best man, screwing around behind my back. She started crying, but not the genuine kind. It was that fake crocodile tears she always pulled when she was backed into a corner. "You're overreacting, Jake. You're just being paranoid. I swear I didn't do anything." She sniffled, trying to make herself look innocent. But her voice was shaky, and I saw right through her. I decided right then that I wasn't going to keep pretending like everything was fine. I told her I needed time to think, that I wasn't going to be part of her lies anymore. I couldn't stay in the same room with her, not after what I saw. Not after how she had betrayed me. I grabbed my keys, headed for the door, and as I left, she was still there, trying to act all innocent, acting like I was the crazy one. Driving away from her place, I felt a strange mix of rage, heartbreak, and utter confusion. I'd lost the woman I thought I loved. I'd lost my best friend. And I didn't know if I'd ever be able to trust anyone again. I kept thinking about all the moments I'd missed, her sneaking around, her lies, the way she'd always told me I was insecure and paranoid. Turns out she was the one hiding things, lying to my face, using me like some damn placeholder. That night I sat alone in my apartment, realizing everything had changed forever. The betrayal had cut so deep that I didn't know if I'd ever recover. But one thing I knew for sure, she wasn't going to get away with this. Not without consequences. And I was planning on making sure she paid for what she did, one way or another. In the days that followed, my mind kept spinning with everything I'd uncovered. I couldn't focus on work, on anything. Really, because all I could think about was how Ashley had lied, cheated, and ultimately used me. I was angry, yes, but mostly I felt broken. How could someone I loved so much do this to me? The woman I planned to spend my life with, the woman I'd trusted to be my partner. She had been out sneaking around with Mike behind my back. It felt like a punch to the stomach, and I was struggling to breathe through the rage and the pain. I made a decision. I was going to find out just how deep this betrayal went. I couldn't just walk away from her without knowing everything. So I started digging. I went back through her phone, her social media, all the stuff I'd been too blind or too trusting to notice before. I needed to see if there were any other signs, any other clues that would confirm what I already knew. Because honestly, part of me still didn't want to believe she'd been lying to my face all this time. What I found was even more infuriating. Secret messages, flirtatious texts, photos she'd deleted but I managed to recover from her cloud backup. She'd been planning this for weeks, maybe longer. There were late-night messages with Mike, talking about how good it felt to sneak around, and waiting until the right moment to tell everyone. She'd even been talking about how she hated the idea of me finding out, which just made my blood boil. All those times she'd told me she loved me, that she was loyal, turns out that was all just a lie. I felt like I'd been living a lie myself, and now I was just waking up to the truth. The worst part was realizing I'd been played, manipulated. She'd been pretending to care, pretending to be the perfect wife, while all along she was out screwing my best friend. It was a gut punch. I decided I had enough evidence. I was going to confront her again, this time with everything laid bare. I knew she'd deny, spin her usual bullshit, but I didn't care. I wanted her to see how badly I was hurt, how deeply she'd fucked up. I arranged to meet her at a quiet coffee shop. I didn't want to do this in front of her friends or family, just the two of us. So she couldn't hide behind her bitchy attitude or fake tears. When she arrived, she was her usual dismissive self, trying to act like she was the victim. "What's this about, Jake? You've been so distant. Did you find some new girl to obsess over?" She snapped, trying to keep her tone dismissive, but I wasn't playing her game anymore. I pulled out my phone, showing her the full chat logs, the photos, the timestamps. Her face lost all color. She looked like she was about to explode, probably furious that I'd gone through her stuff, but honestly, I didn't care. I wanted her to see how exposed she really was. Her reaction was classic. She started screaming, yelling, calling me crazy, accusing me of invading her privacy, saying I'd become a jealous, insecure mess. "You're just paranoid, Jake. You're overreacting. I never did anything with Mike, I swear it." She yelled, tears streaming down her face now, but there was no sincerity in her cry. It was just her trying to save her own ass. I looked at her, feeling numb. All the anger I'd been carrying, all the pain, suddenly felt overwhelming. I realized that even if I wanted to forgive her, I couldn't forget what I now knew. She'd been lying to me from the start, and I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. I told her I needed her to leave, that I didn't want to see her again until she was honest with herself and with me. Watching her get up and storm out was one of the hardest things I'd ever done. It was like losing her all over again, but this time I knew I was better off without her. I had to focus on healing, on rebuilding whatever was left of myself. Because the truth was, I'd trusted her with everything, and she'd shattered that trust into a million pieces. There was no fixing this, not easily and maybe not at all. But I was done being the fool. I was done being the victim of her lies. This was just the beginning of a long, painful process of moving on, even if it meant starting from scratch. The days that followed were some of the hardest I've ever been through. I cut off all contact with Ashley, blocked her on everything, and tried to rebuild some semblance of normalcy. It's strange how quickly life can shift when your entire foundation is torn out from under you. I'd gone from planning a future with her to questioning if I'd ever be able to trust anyone again. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her sneaking out, her lies, the betrayal. It felt like a wound that wouldn't heal. But over time, I realized that I had a choice. I could let this destroy me, or I could learn from it. I chose to learn. I learned that trust isn't handed out lightly, that people often hide who they really are behind pretty masks. Mostly, I learned that I deserved better, someone who wouldn't lie, cheat, or manipulate me. It hurt to say that, but I knew deep down I'd dodged a bullet. Ashley wasn't the woman I thought she was. She was a liar, a cheat, and ultimately, she was just not the person I thought I loved. Getting over her didn't happen overnight. There were moments I felt angry, moments I felt broken, moments I questioned if I'd ever feel normal again. But slowly, I started focusing on myself. I threw myself into work, started working out more, and reached out to friends I'd neglected during our relationship. I realized that my happiness shouldn't depend on someone who didn't value me enough to be honest. Looking back, I can see how naive I was. I kept making excuses for her bitchy attitude, her secretive behavior, because I loved her. But love isn't just about overlooking the signs of betrayal, it's about respect and honesty. And Ashley had shown me she was missing both. That realization was tough to swallow, but it was necessary. I had to accept that sometimes love isn't enough to save a sinking ship. Now I stand here a little wiser, a lot more cautious. I don't trust easily anymore, and I probably never will again, not in the same way. But I've learned to value myself first, to listen to that little voice inside that tells me when something's wrong. I've also learned that revenge or holding onto anger only hurts you in the end. I didn't want to be that bitter guy, but I did want her to feel some of what I felt: betrayal, heartbreak, the absolute shattering of trust. So I moved on. I actively worked to forget her, to forgive myself if that's even possible. I know I'll carry this pain for a while, but it's part of my story now. The lesson is clear. Never ignore the signs and never let someone treat you like less than you deserve. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. So protect yourself, because not everyone is worth the pain. Looking back, I realize I was lucky. Lucky to have found out the truth before I married someone who clearly didn't care about me at all. And honestly, I'm a better man for it. I'll move forward, smarter and more wary, but also more confident that I deserve honesty and respect. No more being blindsided by lies. No more pretending everything is okay when it's not. I've learned my lesson the hard way, but I'll never forget it. And that, for me, is the real victory.